This might piss some people off, but I just want to take a moment and say, thank goodness that so many of us are waking up to the fact that modern day feminism is a literal scam meant to disconnect and separate and isolate women from one another.
Finally, some women are starting to wake up to the massive con job that's been pulled on them. Feminism wasn't about empowering women. It was about destroying the nuclear family and turning women into corporate wage slaves while convincing them it was liberation. These women are realizing they've been sold a lie that traded their happiness, their families, and their natural roles for cubicle slavery and crushing loneliness. The movement that promised them everything delivered nothing but misery, debt, and cat food in their old age. But notice how even in her awakening, she's still focused on how feminism hurt women's relationships with each other, not how it destroyed their relationships with men. This is the female solipsism in action. Even when they're waking up to the truth, they still can't see beyond their own gender.
A lot of men are now leaving it up to women to ask for their phone number, pursue them, holler at them. And we're talking about men over 40, right? And it's crazy to me because literally a generation before them, those men were the hunters and, you know what I'm saying, pursuing women. And I'm confused because I don't know what the hell happened. Is it the Me Too movement that fucked this shit up? Or is it the feminist movement, which none I am a part of, okay? I didn't ask for this shit. I'm trying to figure out who dropped the fucking ball. Now, we got a whole bunch of men walking around here like they want to be the fucking women and we the fucking men. And it's tiring as fuck, honestly. You meet somebody and they really expect you to like hit them up. They don't do shit no more. And it's really sad that we have these type of men now.
Men have finally learned from watching women destroy masculine men for decades. They watched their fathers and grandfathers get divorced, financially destroyed, and emotionally castrated for being traditional providers and protectors. So now they're letting women do the chasing and see how they like it. These women created this dynamic by punishing masculine behavior for 50 years, and now they're shocked that men have adapted by becoming passive. You can't spend decades calling traditional masculinity toxic and then cry when men stop being traditionally masculine. This woman is confused because she doesn't understand cause and effect. She thinks male behavior exists in a vacuum, not as a response to decades of female hostility toward masculine traits. Men didn't stop hunting women. Women made hunting so dangerous and unrewarding that men found better things to do with their time.
Here's how feminism messed up the US economy and how it's actually now come back to bite modern women in the butt. Let's rewind. The modern feminist movement kicked off in the 1960s. The goal was fair wages, equal opportunities, and legal protections. Great, right? They told us that the first wave gave us the right to vote, and the second wave brought us into the workforce. Here's where it gets a little bit sticky. During the second wave, the message shifted. It wasn't just, you can work outside the home. It became, you should. Or you must if you want to be respected. Doing nothing but staying home and cooking and cleaning and raising children, that was suddenly less than. So women flooded the workforce around this time. They were told they would get more financial freedom, more independence, and of course, more respect. But when millions of women started working full-time, it didn't just change individual families, it changed the entire economy. Suddenly, two incomes weren't just nice, they were expected, and that's where we get into the two-income trap. This is a book written by Elizabeth Warren, who is not exactly a conservative voice, but she actually articulates this situation beautifully in her book, The Two-Income Trap. She argues that when both parents started working, the cost of living adjusted. Home goods, school districts, prices went up. Childcare, through the roof. Everything from health insurance to groceries inflated to match dual income spending power. So now we've created this world where it takes two full-time incomes to just be able to afford the same lifestyle one income covered in 1960. Feminism told women and even sold them the idea that they were breaking free. But for a lot of women, especially moms, it feels more like a trap. Because now the choice to stay home with your kids isn't even on the table for many families. So many women would love to be able to be homemakers and clean the house and cook and take care of their kids, and they can't. Because what used to be a respected and even honored role of homemaker, caregiver, mother, got dismissed. Feminism lied to us and told us that success only looked like climbing the corporate ladder and competing with men. But we traded in something priceless: time with our children, peace in our own homes, and even financial flexibility. So while women were told you should do it all, what we ended up with is exhaustion, rising debt, and a system that only works if you're always working outside your house. The very movement that claimed to be liberating women made it nearly impossible to live on one income. And I'm sorry, but that is not empowering. Turns out that there's a real price to pay when a society stops valuing motherhood. When caregiving is treated as invisible labor and homemakers are seen as less than, everybody actually loses, especially women. Not just emotionally or in the family structure, we could talk about that forever, but economically as well. So no, I'm sorry, feminism didn't save women. It told us we need to do it all, and now our generation is paying the price for it.
This woman just explained the biggest economic scam in human history. They convinced women that being a mother and homemaker was worthless and degrading. Meanwhile, they elevated corporate drudgery as empowering and fulfilling. The result? They doubled the workforce overnight, cut wages in half because now employers could pay less since households had 2 incomes, and destroyed the family unit. Women went from being valued as mothers and wives to being interchangeable cogs in the corporate machine. But here's what she's still not getting: this wasn't an accident. This was a deliberate strategy by corporations and governments to extract maximum labor from the population while destroying the traditional support systems that made people independent. They needed women in the workforce not to liberate them, but to exploit them.
I don't need a man, but I really want him. Oh my God, I don't need a man, but I really want that one. I'm fine on my own, but I would be better with him. I need him.
Listen to the mental gymnastics in real time. She's literally contradicting herself every few seconds because deep down she knows the truth, but she's been programmed to deny it. Women absolutely need men. They need protection, provision, leadership, and masculine energy to feel complete. But feminism has brainwashed them into thinking that admitting this makes them weak. So they twist themselves into pretzels trying to want something without needing it, which is psychological torture disguised as empowerment. This is what happens when you program people to deny their basic nature. They become neurotic and confused, unable to articulate what they actually want because they've been told their desires are shameful.
Women need men.
No!
Jesus Christ.
No. Of course not.
No, fuck no.
Do not need them. Not at all.
No. We the prize.
A little bit, but not really. We want them, but don't need them, baby. Hell no. Hell no.
Do y'all ever sit back and wonder, why would y'all fight for women to work? I don't want to work.
Women need to be held accountable. Feminism has made it normal to constantly blame men for the problems of women.
I realized I was using feminism pretty much as a cover-up for how much I despised the no species.
In case there is a world war, I'm not a feminist. My job is to stay in the kitchen.
I really need someone to tell me if having kids is worth.
Why did you think that we needed to work as much as men?
Being an independent woman is fucking overrated. I'm leaving it.
I feel unbelievably betrayed by feminism.
I posted a video about guys not knowing what they want in their 30s, and let me tell you, the comments have me like shook. The amount of men saying that they don't want to get married because they don't want to have to take care of a woman is like absolutely mind-blowing to me. Like, love is dead. It's dead. Done.
This woman is shocked that men don't want to take care of modern women. Let me explain something to her. Men absolutely want to take care of women who are worth taking care of. Men are biologically programmed to provide and protect, but they're not stupid. Why would a man sacrifice his freedom, his resources, and his peace of mind for a woman who brings nothing but problems to his life? Modern women offer no feminine energy, no domestic skills, no loyalty, no respect, and no appreciation. They're bitter, entitled, damaged goods who view relationships as extraction opportunities rather than partnerships. Men looked at this deal and said, "No thanks." The shock on this woman's face shows how completely disconnected modern women are from male reality. They think men should want to take care of them just because they exist, not because they bring value to men's lives.
My brother works stock at a grocery store and has over 6 figures in his savings account. His secret to saving money is to never get married and don't have kids.
Good job, my brother. We rocking with you.
I asked a bunch of girls, when was the last time a man approached you at a bar and started talking to you?
And I thought this was just a me thing, but they were all like, no, it hasn't happened in, I can't even tell you how long, like before. And I thought that was a me experience. I was like, okay, maybe I give off like a standoffish vibe. I don't know. I don't think so. But no, they all agreed. They're like, I can't tell you the last time a man tried to talk to me at a bar. A man tried to offer to buy me a drink. Do men still do that?
I don't like to date my type of guy anymore because I feel like it's really boring because he treats me so good, which, like, common sense, like, you want to be treated good from a guy. But when you get treated good, it's kind of, like, boring, and don't hate me, but I do love toxic.
Here we have the female dual mating strategy exposed in all its glory. This woman admits that good men are boring and she prefers toxic men, then wonders why her life is a mess. This is hypergamy and the dark triad attraction in action. Women are biologically attracted to men who display antisocial traits because those traits historically indicated genetic fitness and ability to acquire resources through dominance. But in modern society, these same traits make men terrible long-term partners. So women spend their youth chasing exciting bad boys, then expect good men to be available when they're ready to settle down. But the good men have either been taken by women who appreciated them early, or they've learned to avoid women who openly admit they find goodness boring.
How do you pick the guys that you want to date? I don't need a man.
Okay. Don't be like that. Why not date a guy? What's going on there? Or anybody?
Because I can do what a guy can do.
Liar, your pants on fire. But what about kids and family?
I can adopt.
Do you think it's better for a kid to be raised with one parent or two?
I think it's better for two because I didn't get to experience having two parents. Yeah. So then why put your kid through only having one parent then? I don't know.
I don't need a man, part 1. Oh my god, I need a man. I completely missed it. Second attempt of I don't need a man. Oh my god, I need a man.
You don't make enough to provide for us anymore, so we have to get out there in the workforce.
I'm sick of your crybaby bullshit.
Right, because you voted for laws that give the jobs to you instead of to us. You know that, right? You have to know about this, right? Women have been saying for decades, they've been saying, we get 77 cents on the... Women want to get paid equal. They don't want to work equal. They just want to get paid equal.
That doesn't even make sense, really.
So they went to the government and they voted for the government to make things equal. You voted for that. You know that, right?
You motherfuckers have no idea.
The government takes money from men and gives it to corporations if they meet diversity quotas. So we are being forced to pay to put ourselves out of work so you can be equal.
This sucks and it's horseshit, but I'm too polite to say anything because I'm a class act.
Men and women don't put the same amount of effort into the workplace, and so they get different rewards out of it. But women wanted to make it equal. But it's not because you're running faster than us, it's because you voted to redistribute the trophies. This situation is like a dog that wants you to throw a ball, but it won't drop it.
Hang on.
We want men to pay. Okay, let me go get a job. No, you can't have that. That's for women. We need equality. Okay, then go date the men who have more money. Where have all the good men gone?
That shit's fucking annoying.
I mean, you have to know about this, right? Everyone knows this, right? Please tell me that you knew.
This man just explained the most insidious part of the feminist economic scam. It's not just that women entered the workforce, it's that the government created artificial incentives to hire women over men regardless of qualifications. Men are literally forced through their tax dollars to fund their own displacement in the job market. This is wealth redistribution disguised as equality, and it's destroyed the meritocracy that built Western civilization. Women wanted equality of outcome without equality of effort, so the system was rigged to give it to them. But rigged systems eventually collapse, and when they do, everyone suffers. The man's frustration is completely justified. He's being forced to subsidize his own economic destruction while being told he's privileged.
Some people are like, oh, men are dogs. And I was like, yes, they are. They're loyal. They're always happy to see you. They're looking for something to do for you. What could they bring you? they just want to be admired and appreciated. And yeah, if you treated them like dogs, everything would turn out much better. Much better.
What do you wish more women knew about how men operated?
There's 10,000 times more going on inside the head of a man than you have any idea. He's carrying burdens that you don't have a clue about, and he don't know how to express them, and he don't know what to do about it, and he figures if he puts it out there and communicates it, he's just going to be shot down, called a fool, called weak, so he carries it inside, and you have no clue the burdens and the hell that most men are carrying inside and not even showing you.
This is the most accurate description of male reality in modern society. Men carry enormous psychological, financial, and social burdens that women can't even comprehend, but they're not allowed to express vulnerability or ask for help without being labeled weak or toxic. Women demand emotional labor from men while providing none in return. They want men to be emotionally available but also strong leaders, sensitive but also decisive, vulnerable but also protective. These contradictory demands are impossible to fulfill, so most men just shut down emotionally and focus on practical matters. The result is an entire generation of emotionally isolated men who have learned that their feelings don't matter to anyone, especially the women in their lives.
Do you agree that men are more?
No.
You don't agree?
No, absolutely not.
Oh, wow. You gotta be shitting me.
It depends on the man. You see a skinny, like, scrawny little guy, and then you see a big girl, you're like, okay, yeah. Who am I gonna bet on?
For sure. But in general, like, on average, not at all?
No.
What an idiotic thing to say.
What comes to your mind if I say, what would you say men are better at than women?
I think men are better at probably.
It's like muscle stuff. Usually we're pretty good at.
I think women are just as strong as men.
Physically?
Yeah, I do.
But they're not though, right? She's not okay. She's not crying. I didn't ask anything. I was just asking what's the difference between men and women.
What you just witnessed is the beginning of the end for the feminist experiment, women finally waking up to the catastrophic damage it's caused to their lives, their relationships, and society as a whole. But this awakening is coming far too late for most of these women, and the consequences of 50 years of social engineering can't be undone with a few TikTok videos and moments of clarity. Let's start with the economic reality that several of these women are finally grasping. Feminism wasn't a grassroots movement that emerged organically from oppressed women. It was a carefully orchestrated campaign funded by the Rockefeller Foundation and other elite interests who needed to double the tax base and have labor costs. They convinced women that their natural roles as mothers and homemakers were oppressive slavery, while corporate wage labor was liberation and empowerment. The result was the most successful bait and switch in human history. Before feminism, a single male income could support an entire family, buy a house, pay for college, and still have money left over for vacations and savings. Women had the choice to work if they wanted to, but most chose to focus on their families because that's where they found fulfillment and purpose. The nuclear family was the basic economic unit of society, and it provided security, stability, and meaning for both men and women. Feminism destroyed all of that. By flooding the workforce with women, they created massive labor oversupply that allowed employers to cut wages across the board. What used to require one income now requires two, and families are still struggling more than their grandparents did on a single paycheck. Women went from being supported and cherished as the heart of the family to being exploited as interchangeable corporate drones, and they were told this was progress. But the economic damage is just the beginning. The real destruction was cultural and psychological. Feminism didn't just change women's economic circumstances, it fundamentally altered their understanding of their own nature, their relationships with men, and their role in society. Women were taught to view their natural instincts as weaknesses, their desire for security and protection as oppression, and their role as mothers as a lesser calling than corporate achievement. The result is exactly what we're seeing in these videos: women who are successful by feminist standards but miserable by human standards. They climbed the corporate ladder, broke glass ceilings, and achieved financial independence, but they're lonely, unfulfilled, and desperate for the traditional relationships they were taught to despise. They spent their most fertile years in boardrooms instead of nurseries, and now they're waking up to realize they traded their biological purpose for a corner office. The dating dynamics reveal another layer of the catastrophe. Women spent decades demanding that men become more feminine, more emotionally available, more sensitive, more willing to express vulnerability. They attacked traditional masculinity as toxic and demanded that men learn to communicate their feelings and share domestic responsibilities. But when men actually did this, women lost attraction to them because they were no longer displaying the masculine traits that women are biologically programmed to find attractive. Meanwhile, the same women who demanded sensitive, communicative men continue to be sexually attracted to the dark triad traits of narcissism, psychopathy, and Machiavellianism. They wanted providers who acted like lovers and lovers who acted like providers, which is a psychological impossibility. The result was a generation of confused, emasculated men who no longer understood what women actually wanted because women themselves didn't understand what they wanted. Men have finally figured out the game, and many of them are choosing not to play. The rise of bachelor culture, and the increasing number of men who simply refuse to commit to modern women are all rational responses to an irrational dating market. Why would a man risk his financial future, his emotional well-being, and his peace of mind for a woman who views him as a utility rather than a partner? The woman who was shocked that men don't want to take care of modern women perfectly encapsulates female delusion. She can't understand why men wouldn't want to sacrifice everything for women who bring nothing but problems, demands, and attitude to relationships. Modern women offer no feminine energy, no domestic skills, no loyalty, no respect, and no appreciation, then act confused when men choose video games and casual sex over commitment. The most devastating realization for these women is that their peak years are behind them. The woman making vision boards at 33 with her equally single friend is a perfect example of this. They spent their 20s and early 30s focusing on careers and casual relationships, assuming that marriage and family would always be available options. But the biological clock doesn't care about feminist ideology, and the sexual marketplace doesn't give participation trophies. High-value men in their 30s and 40s aren't looking for career women with baggage and declining fertility. They're looking for younger women who can give them families and actually appreciate what they've built. The women who rejected these same men when they were building their careers are now competing with 25-year-olds for their attention, and they're losing badly. The psychological damage is perhaps the most tragic aspect of this entire situation. These women were programmed from childhood to deny their own nature, suppress their natural instincts, and pursue goals that were fundamentally at odds with their biological programming. The woman who admits she needs a man but can't bring herself to say it out loud is experiencing the cognitive dissonance of someone whose programming conflicts with their reality. Feminism taught women that needing men was weakness, that dependence was oppression, and that traditional gender roles were patriarchal control mechanisms. But women are biologically programmed to seek security, protection, and partnership with strong men. When you tell people to fight against their own nature for decades, the result is neurosis, depression, and existential confusion. The awakening we're witnessing is real, but it's too little, too late for most of these women. They can't undo decades of poor decisions, they can't restore their fertility, and they can't compete with younger women who didn't fall for the feminist lie. Some younger women will learn from their mistakes and choose differently, but the women who bought into feminism during their prime years will likely remain single, childless, and increasingly bitter as they age. The broader social implications are staggering. Birth rates in feminist countries have collapsed below replacement level, meaning these societies are literally dying out. Marriage rates have plummeted, divorce rates have skyrocketed, and single motherhood has become normalized. The family unit that formed the foundation of Western civilization has been systematically destroyed, and we're seeing the consequences play out in real time. Men are responding rationally to these incentives by withdrawing from a system that punishes them for traditional masculine behavior while demanding they continue to fulfill traditional masculine responsibilities. The social contract between men and women has been broken, and it's unclear whether it can ever be repaired. The most tragic irony is that feminism promised to liberate women but actually enslaved them. Women went from being protected and provided for as wives and mothers to being forced into corporate servitude just to survive. They traded the security of lifelong partnership for the insecurity of modern dating. They exchanged the fulfillment of raising children for the emptiness of corporate achievement. They gave up their biological purpose for abstract ideological goals. Now they're waking up to realize they've been conned, but the damage is largely irreversible. You can't restore a culture of marriage and family overnight. You can't undo the psychological programming of multiple generations. You can't reverse the economic changes that made single-income families impossible. And you can't convince men to re-enter a system that has treated them as disposable utilities for decades. The great female awakening is real, but it's happening as the ship is already sinking. These women are finally admitting that feminism was a lie, but they're doing so from the wreckage of their own lives. The next generation might learn from their mistakes, but for the women who lived through the feminist experiment, the consequences are permanent. They'll serve as a cautionary tale for future generations, assuming there are any future generations in societies that have abandoned the family unit entirely. This is what happens when you declare war on human nature and think you can win. Biology always wins in the end, and the bill for 50 years of feminist ideology is now coming due. The women in these videos are the early symptoms of a much larger social collapse that will define the next century of human history.